Tom Pelissero. We got a ton to pack in to this show. We got Russell Wilson, who is taking first-team reps finally with the Pittsburgh Steelers. What does it mean for that quarterback competition? We will certainly dive into that. Michael F. Florio, our resident fantasy expert, is going to be here talking about some of those star players that you might be thinking about taking in your fantasy draft. They might have a new coordinator. Who are the winners and losers in some of these new schemes? We will certainly dig into that. And our guy Baldy also is going to be here to talk about some of the rookie quarterbacks and what the Minnesota Vikings are going to do now that their rookie quarterback is done for the season. But we begin with some Brady years of looking for a veteran pass rusher. The Atlanta Falcons have landed one. It is Matthew Judon, who had gone back and forth on and off the practice field for weeks with the New England Patriots. He wanted a new contract. Nothing done on that front yet, Ian, but Judon is headed to Atlanta for a 2025 third-round pick. Tell us more.
At long last, the Atlanta Falcons get a big-time pass rusher they have coveted for, I would say, more than a year. Going back to Montez Sweat, they certainly were in that deal. Hassan Reddick, they were in that deal. Didn't end up for a variety of reasons with either of those guys. And now get Matthew Judon, the former Pro Bowler, big-time sack master for the New England Patriots, who was embroiled in, I would say, several controversies in New England. There was the situation with Gerard Mayo on the sideline, eventually left practice. It was kind of overblown, but it was still a thing. Mostly, he wanted a new contract set to make less than $7 million this year because money from this year was moved forward in his contract. The Patriots had extensive talks with Judon to try to get a deal done. In the end, they could not get a deal done for his contract. They did get a deal done to trade him to the Atlanta Falcons. It is a 2025 third-rounder going to Atlanta. They had some injuries at that position. They shore up that, and the Patriots simply move on with an eye to the future.
Falcons have Kirk Cousins this year. Michael Penix Jr. certainly the guy for the long haul, but this is a team in a division that is up for grabs here. I mean, somebody's got to go up and win the NFC South, so they obviously believe they can be competitive, which you give up the third-round pick, but you also say, hey, that's going to be a late third-round pick because we expect to be making the postseason this year. So that's part of the thought process for the Falcons on this one. And go back to draft night. We all sat here and said they need an edge rusher. They need an edge rusher. They're going to take one of these guys at number 8 overall. Well, they took Penix, and then if you remember, our Steve Weish then reported the next day that they tried to trade up for Leatu Latu, were unable to do that, so they used some of the capital that maybe they would have included in that deal to now get Matthew Judon. It's more of a short-term fix. It's not like you got an edge rusher for the next 10 years, but again, this is a team that expects to compete right now, and they are going to do that with Matthew Judon. The deal is not done. I don't know. We can't go apples to apples with Hassan Reddick here. Remember that deal with the Jets? We talked about that a couple of days ago, how that wasn't done when the trade was done. Obviously, everyone comfortable here that something will be addressed in the near future. And for the very short term, Judon shows up, and he's a part of the Falcons' defense.
A pretty wild offseason for the Atlanta Falcons in so many different ways. Of course, it all began back in March when they signed Kirk Cousins to that contract for $100 million guaranteed. He was replaced in Minnesota by two guys, Sam Darnold and the number 10 overall pick, J.J.
Performed really well the other day at US Bank Stadium. I'm the most crushed for J.J., but as our fans either have already come to find out or will in the future, this guy is so motivated and so dialed in. As excited as I was to draft him, he's confirmed everything that I hope to see, not only early on through training camp, through his performance last Saturday, but he should, our fan base and everyone should just be, excited about the fact that we've got our young franchise quarterback, I believe, in the building. And now it's about the unique aspect of continuing a very critical development process for him, where maybe the physical reps aren't going to be there in the short term, but this is going to be a small bump in the road.
One of the dynamics here was the Vikings wanted Ian to take this slow and really bring J.J. McCarthy along, not have the pressure, push him out on the field right away. And they signed Sam Darnold back early in the offseason, in part because they thought maybe Darnold could be this year's Baker Mayfield. They didn't want this to happen, obviously, but you hear Kevin O'Connell already talking optimistically about 2025. They still got a 2024 season, and Sam Darnold, a huge piece of the puzzle.
Sometimes I feel like I'm just two positive and two silver lining, right? This is a bad situation. It is a rookie quarterback who they think very, very highly of, who is out for the season. And still, I cannot get over several things here. First of all, Sam Darnold was definitely going to start anyway. Someone who's had a good camp, someone the Vikings signed to start and play, someone who they think can be really good. You mentioned the Baker Mayfield comparison. That seems like a really apt one. And then whatever happens next year, they'll probably turn it over to J.J. McCarthy and to bring along slowly to hear fans and everyone else calling for him while he's watching from the sideline. Obviously, you never want anyone to get injured. This is a serious injury. J.J. McCarthy is expected to make a full recovery. That's why I think doing the repair was so important. But really, it could be a lot worse for the Minnesota Vikings than this situation right here, talking specifically for their long-term prospects.
If you have any room in your shelf behind you, you should put a half-full glass of water there. Some people will say it's half empty.
They're all half full.
We'll always say that it is half full. So maybe we can move, I don't know, the Senior Bowl helmet, slide that a little bit. We'll see if we can get going.
I got a
Sam Darnold
thing.
No, it needs to be clear. We need to see.
You're not going to be able to see. It needs to be clear, Ian.
Now I'm regretting even making the joke. Sam Darnold, we've been saying, as we've talked about him the last couple of days and really weeks, we've been saying, okay, great offensive system for him to play in here. Really good offensive-minded here. But that's it. Like, we're going to know now if Sam Darnold's ever going to be able to reach that potential after this year. And the road to redemption begins in MetLife Stadium, not against the Jets, but in MetLife Stadium against the Giants, week 1. Excited to see that.
It feels like Sam Darnold has been around forever. I'm sure to Sam Darnold, it kind of feels like he's been around forever with all the different teams that he's been on to this point in his career. He turned 27 over the summer. This is still a young guy with loads of talent. I know the Vikings have liked him so far. The question with Darnold has always been, can he carry over what he shows on the practice field into the games process and avoid those catastrophic errors? Well, guess what? The Vikings now are going to find out right out of the gate because he is going to be in their lineup on September 8th. Will Russell Wilson be in the lineup for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Here's what we know. Missed a lot of time, a lot of reps in the early portion of training camp after popping his calf in a conditioning drill, pushing a blocking sled on the first day of camp. Today was the last day of camp in Latrobe for Pittsburgh. How did it feel, Russ?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working every single day. Even the days I was a little bit lighter in team, I was just getting all the fundamental work. And then obviously over the past 2 weeks, really been building up a lot more reps in the team drills and everything else. That's been great. Been full for the past several days and everything else. So feel really good on the head of schedule.
So that's Russell Wilson on Russell Wilson. We'll hear plenty more of Russell Wilson on Russell Wilson as this thing moves forward here. Mike, we're now seeing Russell Wilson on the field. It was obviously rocky for Justin Fields in that first preseason game, in part because they couldn't snap him the football. What do you make, though, of where we stand right now as they head back to Pittsburgh?
Russell Wilson's back on the field. Availability, right? The best ability, availability, like check. All right, we got that part out of the way. Now he's got to go win the job. And I'm serious. He's got to go win the job. Mike Tomlin only said that Wilson was in the pole position. This is not an automatic thing. I mean, in the spring, he showed him some ups and downs from what I get. Like the same kind of things I'm hearing from about Justin Fields, I'm hearing about Russell Wilson. So now he's got to get out there, show it every day on the practice field, and show it in the live games as well. So this is still ultimately a competition and one that he has to go, like it's not by default. He's got to go out and win this competition.
Rất là đẹp. Mọi người có thể là sử dụng các cái màu sắc khác cũng được. Nói chung là cước này thì nó có các màu nữa nhé, nên là mọi người thích màu hay là thích trong thì mọi người làm. Rồi để làm vòng không thể thiếu được đó là hạt. Các bạn chuẩn bị cho mình hạt màu. Đây. Rất là nhiều màu sắc. Mình sử dụng để mình sẽ xong hắm tạo vòng. Mọi người nhìn rõ. Ở đây mình dùng nhá, cả hạt trong, hạt đục này, hạt lấp lánh này và hạt màu lìm. Mình dùng rất là nhiều loại màu sắc và hình dáng để mình xông vào, mình tạo cho cái vòng của mình cái sự dễ thương ấy. Nhiều màu sắc sặc sỡ nó mới xinh. Rồi. Và không thể thiếu đó là cái phần hạt mang các cái ký tự chữ cái Latin như thế này. Đây. Tại vì là mình sẽ xét tên của cầu thủ NBA mà nên là cần có cái hạt mang chữ cái như thế này nữa. Ở đây thì mình đang dùng cái hộp nó chia ô. Hộp chia ô thì khi mà mình nhặt chữ cái nó rất là đơn giản. Tại vì mỗi một chữ thì mình cho vào một ô riêng biệt thì mình nhặt cũng dễ. Nếu mà các bạn mà đổ chung hết vào ấy, các bạn chung vào, các bạn nhặt ra mệt cực kỳ luôn. Các bạn trộn chung rồi cái này nó nhỏ, mình tìm chữ cũng hết thôi. Thế nên là mọi người sẽ có mọi người tìm mua cho mình cái hộp chữ khay giống như thế này để làm nhé. Rồi, giờ mình sẽ bắt đầu làm này. Đầu tiên mình sẽ dùng cái phần dây này, mình sẽ đo với cái cổ tay, đo cổ tay. Mình sẽ đo cách cổ tay khoảng 2-3 cm gì đó là được. Sau đó cắt ra. Đây mình là cái phần dây rồi. Bây giờ thì mình sẽ sâu nó vào. Sâu vào. Bây giờ mình sẽ sâu tên của cái cầu thủ Giannis này nhá. Mình sâu từ dưới sâu lên. Tên đầy đủ là Giannis Antetokounmpo, rất là dài. Mình sẽ sâu từ dưới sâu lên nhé. Bắt đầu từ chữ OPMN. O này.